It's 6:30. Time for News Tonight with me, Natalie, for a look at our top stories. Coming up tonight, e-levy, betting tax, emission tax and others to be abolished.
We committed to scrapping the e-levy. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to scrapping the betting tax. We have delivered.
But how will governments make up for the shortfall after the slashing of all these taxes?
Using the ceiling on the tax refund from 6% to 4%. This amount is enough to close the revenue shortfalls from the removal of the e-levy and the betting levy.
Meanwhile, the minority has a warning for Ghanaians.
Let us not rejoice over the removal of these taxes, which we expected. What we did not expect was the reintroduction of VAT on insurance.
Also coming up, we'll tell you 6 things you need to know about the 2025 budget. Also in the bulletin tonight, former Finance Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin's statement that MPP government never implemented tax on betting sparks outrage. We've got the details of these stories and much more news here on News Tonight Tuesday. Let's settle down now for the details here on News Tonight on GHOne TV. We get started with Insight. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Top on the news this evening, Finance Minister Dr. KCL Atto-Forson has announced the government's decision to abolish the electronic transaction levy known as e-levy and the 10% tax on betting. Presenting the first budget statement in Parliament on Tuesday, the minister also indicated plans to scrap other levies, including the emissions tax and a review of the value-added tax system. Additionally, Dr. Atto-Forson stated that the government will abolish the COVID-19 levy by the end of the year.
Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on betting. We will abolish the electronic transfer levy, e-levy of 1%. We will abolish the emission levy, otherwise as we would say tax. We will abolish the VAT on motor vehicle insurance policy. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 1.5% withholding tax on unprocessed goods by small-scale miners.
Now, my colleague on the EIB research desk, Edem Kojo, joins me in studio for more on this budget. Now, Edem, from the budget reading today, I'm very certain that the finance minister touched on the economic performance of 2024. Run us through this before we delve into the 2025 budget.
Okay, so Natalie, finally, we've got finalized figures of how our economy looked like by the close of 2024. So over here, we are told that real GDP, which the Statistical Service told us yesterday, grew by 5.7%. This is actually a jump from the 3.1% recorded in 2023. Now, next is inflation, ending the year at 23.8%. In fact, government had a projection of 15%, and the IMF gave us a projection of 18%. This clearly shows that we missed both targets. Also, the cedi depreciated by 19.2% against the dollar by the end of 2024. Now, our debt, which is something we have been looking forward to some time, it's been confirmed that at the close of 2024, the country's debt jumped up to 726.7 billion Ghana cedi. Now, interestingly, this is actually 61.8% of GDP, a fall in the 68% of GDP earlier in the year. Well, although these numbers are looking good, the finance minister has two issues. The first one on the debt to GDP, where he says it's been occasioned by the debt restructuring exercise. However, on the growth, he has something interesting to say. He says that this growth may be artificial or may not be a growth we all should be proud of, because it is driven by something we have been speaking against for some time now.
Provisional 2024 GDP statistics published by the Ghana Statistical Service on the 10th of March 2025 show that overall GDP growth grew by 5.7% of GDP compared to the growth rate of 3.1% recorded over the same period. Mr. Speaker, the key driver of this growth was largely coming from gold mine. Mr. Speaker, including guarantee. Mr. Speaker, guarantee growth cannot be sustainable.
So, Edem, well, let's now get into the 2025 budget. What were the key economic targets that were spelled out in this year's budget? Okay,
so with growth, 5.7 for 2024, government has lowered it a very modest 4.0. This is what they expect the economy to grow by. With inflation, government has set a target of 11.9% by the end of year. That will be a very interesting one, considering that we moved from 23.2% in 2023 and still ended up with 23.8% in 2024. So it will be interesting to see how these targets would be met, Natalie.
Right, and you described it as a rather modest 4%. Why do you say so?
Because in the past year it grew by 5.7%, and so if you want your growth to go up or you want your economy to grow, one would have thought that government will want to have a more ambitious target, but right, the 4% looks modest given that we did 5.7 last year.
Interesting. Now, Edem, we've got the government projecting to raise some 229 billion cedis. At the same time, this is juxtaposed against these tax cuts, major tax cuts in the budget. Highlight what the minister said with regards to that.
Okay, so this, what you have here is the government's revenue and expenditure targets. Now, in 2024, government raised a total of 186.6 billion Ghana cedi. Now, in fact, there was a revised figure of 177.2 billion. So it means that in 2024, government outperformed its revenue target, raking in more revenue than it anticipated. But the expenditure part was actually another interesting one. In fact, the approved budget was 219.7 billion, meaning that for the year 2024, this is the amount that government or the then government was expected to spend. However, at the end of the year, the expenditure went up to 279.2 billion. In fact, the expenditure grew by some 21%, which is an astronomical and high figure. Well, for 2025, The government says it's seeking to raise 223.8 billion. Now see a significant jump from 186 to 223. Someone says they do not envy the Commissioner General of the GRA at this point because he really needs to raise a lot of money. Then with the expenditure is 269.1 billion. Now if you notice, expenditure has actually increased from last year's budget of 219 to 269. But this figure is less than what government actually spent as compared to their approved figure. So this is what we have. Now, those who understand, or for once you are getting revenue and you are spending, you notice that our expenditure is greater than our revenue, which means that we are actually going to borrow some money to fund the difference. We are looking to raise 43.8 billion in borrowing this year to finance and make sure that our economy or our expenditure is met, and a whopping 36.9 billion of that amount is to be financed from the treasury bill market. So Natalie, this is what it is. But as you said, you are looking to raise 223.8 billion, yet you are scrapping taxes.
Absolutely.
What taxes are going? Well, the e-levy, electronic transfer levy, 1% is off the table. The 10% on betting winners, which has become a controversial thing this evening, is also going, we are told. Emission levies on industries and vehicles is also going. VAT on motor vehicles insurance policies, government says is going. And finally, a 1.5% withholding tax on unprocessed gold sales is going. So, final question people will be asking, if you are taking out all this revenue and you say you want to raise nearly 230 billion Ghana cedi, where are you going to find the money? Well, the finance minister has been providing some answers.
Mr. Speaker, by reducing the ceiling on the tax refund from 6% to 4%, Right Honourable Speaker, we have saved the taxpayer 3.8 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this amount is enough to close the revenue shortfalls from the removal of the e-levy and the betting levy. Mr. Speaker, the e-levy would have accrued 1.9 billion Ghana cedis, and the betting tax would have accrued 180 million. The two put together is just about 2 billion Ghana cedis. By reducing the tax refund account from 6 to 4, it is enough to remove this tax, and the savings will be provided to take care of social intervention.
Well, that's the finance minister speaking then. Adam, I'm going to ask that you hold on briefly before we carry on with the graphics and details on the 2025 budget, because we're going to be engaging now GHOne Owu. He serves as a senior that's a partner of tax and regulatory services at Deloitte, joining us for a conversation on this. Good evening to you, GHOne. Thank you for joining us this evening. Now, from where you sit, it's the government's decision to abolish these taxes. Is it a sustainable approach?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on your show. As any taxpayer will tell you, it's always a good thing to do away with taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes, so taxpayers are happy with this. Just that there's a much broader appeal for the e-levy scrapping us against the betting levy, because that one is on a much smaller taxpayer group as compared to the e-levy. And so with this, people are excited, are happy about it, but they were expecting more. It's a good thing that the NDC has kept its manifesto promise that they were going to do away with this tax. However, the main, one of the major areas that they were looking at was the area of the import duties, and this we didn't hear much, or we didn't hear anything about. The other area is also on the VAT, and these are the two major areas that when you talk to any tax person, they will tell you that they have an issue with. And so the customs and import duty we didn't hear much about. However, we heard something on the VAT in terms of abolishing the COVID-19 levy, and then the decoupling of the GET fund and the health insurance levy. it's much more towards the latter part of the year, and we are hopeful that government will keep to its promise, because I think they want to set up a committee to do a full review, and then later these ones will be published. So there's a good and bad, but for businesses, they are looking towards for more.
Now, GHOne, you say that it's good. I mean, who generally wants to pay taxes? However, is there the possibility that these could be sort of reintroduced under different economic conditions, these taxes?
Okay, as anybody will tell you, we've experienced something of that nature before, so it's not something that we can do away with, but we want the sustainability of it. And fortunately, the minister showed us a way, and where this gap created is going to be filled from. And he mentioned the tax refund account, which is a good thing, reducing the cap on that from 6% to 4%. However, there are still minor issues with it. Because taxpayers will tell you there are quite a number of people who are always asking for their tax refund, but due to administrative issues or the processes for which businesses get this refund, it's not always forthcoming. So there is issues, but at least it shows us a way of doing it. But the main point I want to point out, lay down here is that when businesses grow and the business economy grows as a result of it, it means the GDP and the revenue that government gets from it would also grow. So it shouldn't be all about how much revenue you can get from businesses, but also how are businesses growing, so make sure that the cow that gives you the milk, you get a lot more cows, and then they continue to give you that milk. So the conditions for businesses to operate and do very well, cost of energy is a major issue, stability of the currency is also a major issue, and of interest rates. Once we take good care of this, the businesses will grow, the economy is booms, businesses grows, and it can remain at corporate tax can remain at 25%, but still we do have growth of the government's revenue to be able to recover or close these gaps for some of this what I call nuisance taxes.
Now, GHOne, I'm going to ask that you hold your thoughts briefly, but do stay with us as you've been joined via Zoom as well by Professor Patrick Esuming, serves as an economist and senior lecturer at the Department of Finance, University of Ghana Business School. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, as you have seen, this budget has seen some major tax cuts. Are you confident that as it stands, it's going to help to reset the economy as this administration is confident of doing?
Good evening, and good evening to viewers and also the other panelists. Thanks for having me. Well, I think it's, since the election, the mood and the sentiment within the country has been very good, and it was important that when this budget is read, that sentiment, that positive sentiment is kept. So I think the idea of reducing the taxes are generally very good. The government keeping their promises to reduce the taxes, and I think more importantly, the government has also shown us how it's going to make up for the gap. But I think the other important things to note, one is to see the government trying to rein in its spending. To see the government projecting that to spend less than was spent in 2024, I think that's quite important. And we've seen that is also resulting in a lot more transfers to households and strengthening and improvement of social protection programs. I think for the economy as a whole, of course, for businesses, reducing the tax, which some of them treat as cost, it's important to help boost production. But I think we need way more than that. We need more support, we need more structure, we need more incentives, and we need more strategy. And we did hear the government, the finance minister, in some sense, talk about doing import substitution, generating demand to boost the 24-hour economy. So overall, I think it's a positive outlook. But the hard work now begins. It's easier said than done. I think, don't forget that we've been here before. Exactly 8 years ago, when the first budget was read, a lot of new taxes were removed or reduced. And fast forward, we saw that the taxes coming back. So I think it's important that while we remove these taxes, we have a strategy to ensure that our long-term revenues are sustained. That way, we wouldn't have to reintroduce these taxes again in the future.
Certainly. So you say generally it is good, the scrapping of these taxes. Let's speak specifically about the betting tax that you have previously warned against the scrapping of this tax. The government, as we see, went ahead with the people's demand with regards to scrapping this tax. What's your reaction to this particular tax being scrapped?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm not a fan of scrapping the betting tax. I think I've clearly explained that we shouldn't really look at tax policy in terms of revenue. We should look at tax policy in terms of as a key part of our broader development strategy. And, I think we have to be concerned about the rate at which betting is taking hold of young people. But at the same time, you can understand why the government has done it. I think given the prominence that was given to this particular tax, removal of this particular tax, and its popularity among the youth, and given how much was said, I think for the government's own reputation and credibility, you can understand why it has been removed. But I still maintain that even with the removal, we still have to be concerned that young people prefer to stay, in a place and just keep betting. I think now they call it investment. I mean, actually, if you call it investment, then what you earn is investment income that should be taxed. I know the tax expert from Deloitte is there. I'm sure she can tell you that.
Certainly.
So, but generally, I think I'm still very concerned that, the rate at which betting is taking hold in this country.
In the country. You're worried, it appears, about the rate at which it's taking hold in the country. Now, Prof, I'm going to ask that you hold your thoughts. You just mentioned we've got Deloitte, that's Gideon Owu from Deloitte joining us, and my colleague Adam. You've got a question for Gideon, yes?
Yes. So one of the issues that have come in as a way of addressing this tax gap is the increase in the growth and sustainability levy from 1% to 3%, which is the levy that really affects a lot in the mining and extractive sector. As a tax expert, there are conversations that are going around that this levy could be counterproductive. As a tax expert, what is basically your take on this levy that has been increased, and could it have any benefits for the economy? Gideon, can you kindly unmute?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so I think, obviously it's going to increase the revenue to government, so on that side it's fine, but then we also have to look at another area. So for this large scale miners that this tax is targeted on, they operate under strict regimes. So most of them have signed a fiscal agreement with government, and the government is saying, I'm guaranteeing you your tax rate or your tax framework for a certain period in time. So once this happens, it means they know this is the taxes that I'm going to pay for a certain number of years, and based on that they calculate their internal rate of return and everything, and they then go ahead to make investments in the field. But with this coming on and the government then changing it, usually when you look at some of these agreements, it will tell you that one party cannot change it except by mutual agreement. So if this has not been done and government is now changing it again, it then says a lot about government and the sanctity of contracts that government has done. And then other investors who are about to come in then look at it and say, well, if you've done this, because a couple of years back there were some renegotiations with government on this same fiscal provisions, and so if after a certain number of years government is now coming back and saying, I'm changing some from 1% to 3%, and mind you, it's on gross production, it's not after deducting operating expenses. It's at the top level of the gross production, which is much higher. So 3% therefore accrues to a lot more. And so some of these mining communities, and then the message we are sending to the mining community will not sound very good. And then it creates a lack of confidence in our government. Mind you, we are now looking for certain investors to come and invest in the lithium mines or other rare minerals. And they'll be looking at all of this and they say, hey, even if Parliament goes ahead to approve my agreement, another government will come 4 years later and say times are hard or things are difficult for the country, and therefore we want to change the rate and do 2% or 3%. So it's going to get government its revenue, but I'm much more worried about the message we are sending out to the investor community.
Finally, I want to wrap up with Prof. Isumain. Prof, if you are still with us, if you listen to the budget, there's talk of uncapping GET Fund, the National Health Insurance Levy, the Road Fund, among others. And from where you sit, people say uncapping these funds does not necessarily mean much because it's only a realignment of expenditure. From where you sit, does uncapping these funds send any sort of message for the economy? And does it by any means help us close some revenue gap, if any?
Well, I think the uncapping matters. Now, it signals a change in the direction of fiscal policy from centralization to more decentralization. In the previous regime, the idea was to centralize it. Now, to the extent that for instance, if you devote more of the resources to district assemblies, other entities, I think to that extent it's better that you give that. In any case, the central government has proved extremely inefficient at managing the funds. To localize, it brings more accountability.
As always, thank you so much for your time and insight this evening on this issue. Interesting reactions there, Adam, from both of our resource persons. Clearly, both pretty glad about the scrapping of the taxes, yet expecting more from the business community, improved economic conditions in general, particularly in the wake of the 24-hour economy. What are your final comments from the budget, Adam? And of course, with regards to the very interesting policy proposal from President Mahamadi in Kuko, in Kiti. Did the budget touch on that at all?
Yes, so Natalie, the budget also gave us what government calls our key budget allocation. So some programs that government says are their key programs, we've had monetary allocations given to them. We've heard that assembly members are going to be paid for the next 4 years, and government has allocated 100 million Ghana cedi. With the Nkuko Nketenkete that you speak of, it comes under the Agriculture for Economic Transformation agenda, which government says is allocating 1.5 billion Ghana cedi to take care of the Feed Ghana, which is the Nkuko Nketenkete, the Ghana Grains Development and Vegetable Development project. So these are some of the allocations that we have, and I'm sure when you visit our social media handles and starfm.com.gh, you would find all the various other allocations made to the sectors of the economy. Natalie.
You certainly will. Adam Kojo, thank you so much for detailing that and running us through it. Now, let's stay on issues related to this. In a sharp response to government's decision to scrap the betting tax, former Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam says the NPP government did not implement the controversial 10% tax on bet winnings. Dr. Amin Adam warned Ghanaians not to be too excited about the scrapping of these taxes. He was addressing a press conference after the budget presentation.
The minister announced that they are abolishing VAT on motor insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, we were already not collecting VAT on motor insurance. VAT on motor insurance. Rather, the minister insurance. So all other insurance, given that the penetration of the insurance industry is just 1.1%, we are so shocked that the minister will reintroduce VAT on non-life insurance, except motor vehicle insurance. So let us not rejoice over the removal of these taxes, which we expected. What we did not expect was the reintroduction of VAT on insurance. They've also increased the growth and sustainability levy from 1% to 3% for the mining sector and extended the sunset period from 2020 to 2028. When you heard the minister talking about growth, he said that the growth was influenced by the extractives. That's a lie. And so, how can you tax a sector which is giving you growth. The sector that is giving you growth is the sector you want to go and tax. This is not good for industry. This is not good for economic growth. And this is not good for the development of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, betting tax that they said they have abolished. We never collected betting tax. We never implement the betting tax. So to come and tell Ghanaians that you have abolished something that was not implemented is to deceive the people of Ghana.
Well, still on Insight here on News Tonight. We'll bring you reactions shortly to these comments made by the former finance minister, as well as reactions from the public on the scrapping of the betting tax and much more on the 2025 budget read by the finance minister. Stay with us here on News Tonight.
When they win and they want to take out their money from their mumbo, the government take it, and the most annoying part is they don't even know what the government used the money for.
You're welcome back to News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Still on the budget, the former finance minister, Dr. Amin Adam, has criticized the government for failing to effectively address the cost of living crisis.
The budget did not address the cost of living issues. Cost of living issues haven't been addressed. Transport fares continue to increase. The budget did not address how they are going to ensure that petroleum product prices do not increase. And once petroleum product prices continue to increase, transport fares will increase. budget did not address that. This budget talked about how they are going to reduce energy bills. They didn't talk about how to decrease water bills. All these bills will continue to increase, looking at the indicators that we are seeing. And we thought that having campaigned on cost of living crisis and came to power with the support of the Ghanaian people, the least the government could do was to present a budget that will address the cost of living crisis in terms of transport fares, in terms of prices, in terms of energy bills.
Well, let's now take some reactions from the public with regards to the comments made by former Finance Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, saying that the betting tax was not implemented by the previous administration. Let's take a look at your reactions to that.
Manchester match okoboya minye bikakredi mika imiska o phone so wo matimi na aseme no mujamo ana wo fi se yankwala o Ghana na yankwala o ni akoso kromi ya yekita phone yekita wasa yenye yehu mi say betting tax we ya time more than 5 good times nko medi Manchester medi Liverpool medi Real Madrid medi Chelsea ni na ya time ni na government oti edme ya so samsome inti ujana ndo ye beti efuka chanse beti beni corona pasa wadada wan sanya manyamo enta na ma yeto abedi tia mungu so me ye baguso ato abeti am da.
This thing is what I'm surprised of, for the minority to come and say that they never implemented the betting tax. But I have friends here, no, I don't stake bets. I have friends here who have shown me their slip that they've won and the money has been deducted. So who is taking that money? I think this government should find out, do a thorough investigation and find out and brought those people to book, because it's strange that the whole government then, with a finance minister of such intelligence, who come and tell us they never implement the betting tax, but yet people monies are being deducted when they won, and this is more criminal than what we are hearing from the even the ghost names. This is more dangerous and serious. The opposition, if they knew what they have said, I think they have to come back again. You sit down for somebody, an individual, to be deducting people's money without government knowing it. This country, it's very bad. It's very, very bad. MPP, if they don't take it, they will be in opposition for long, because the youth will be asking, those that their money has been taken will be asking, if you said you did not implement it, then who is taking the money? There are evidence that people's taxes have been deducted. So who was then taking the money? Where?
It's a lie, because they actually did. I have friends who were betting, and then whenever they win and they are taking their money, they do complain that their money has been taken. So it's a lie. I mean, they implemented it and it was working.
They implemented it. Go and ask Miracle, this guy, and the MPP communicator. What is his name? Miracle Abwaji. Yes, he said that they implemented. So
Who don't know? Even a child born yesterday know there is betting tax in Ghana. This one is unnecessary.
But is there a way they bring that taxes? So why he said that he never implement anything? He know everything. He can't say that. He can't say that at all. You know.
But are Ghanaians happy with the scrapping of the betting tax and e-levy?
And the rest were being introduced. I supported it, but it got to a point that when taxes are being taken, I don't see the reasons why I'm being taxed. Here you could see the reasons for the taxes being taken. We can't feel it, we don't see it. Still the hardship is there. So to be frank, when the incoming then President John Mahama said that he's going to abolish it, I was very happy. And today I'm a very happy person that it has been abolished. That's all. I'm a very happy person, especially the betting tax and then the emission tax. I think some of the taxes, I don't understand them, but we are asking the government that after taking those taxes, we still need development. We may still need things that we will need taxes to do. How are they going to get money, or or how are they going to get funds to support their projects that they have promised, or even the Agenda 111 that they want to complete? Where are they going to get the money?
It's good that it's been taken, of course. I mean, the whole of Ghana was talking about it. I mean, most of the youth who had been engaged in the betting, they were complaining that they hustle and get their own money, and then when they win and they want to take out their money from their mumbo, the government take it. And the most annoying part is they don't even know what the government used the money for. So I mean, they were agitated and they didn't like the idea. So I think it's a good thing that it has been taken out. And personally, with the e-levy, I do momo transaction a lot, and anytime I do see the deduction and the tax and all that.
Although it slow down businesses whenever you receive momo and then you are about to transfer it to someone. That is e-levy I'm talking about. And backed tax, whenever you had a little win, maybe you've done your budget already, upon withdrawing the money, then some percentage has been taken off. So all this thing is something that gives us excitement after hearing it from them too.
And that the financial minister don't can be not papa me betting because betting it didn't harm me. He said me didn't come out here mugusumi checking. In this abandon we am about no way for the head and I see because a campaign promise. On also soon challenge us in youth yet to abandon ye. In the way for the year live in the Gusudan aside and I see. And
Well, those are some public reactions following the scrapping of the betting tax and the e-levy. Well, let's stay on the 2025 budget as the Finance Minister, Dr. KCL Atto-Forson, announced the government's plan to implement an energy sector recovery program to address the sector's challenges, including reducing the significant financial shortfalls. As part of these interventions, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, and the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, will enhance metering and implement a private sector participation strategy to improve revenue collection efficiency.
To address the energy sector challenges, including reducing the quantum of large energy sector shortfalls, the following energy sector recovery program interventions will be implemented this year. First, Mr. Speaker, ECG and NEDCO will implement a number of measures, including metering and implementation of private sector participation. The Speaker will also implement the liquid fuel to gas swap through an increase in N-gas supply from 60 mmSC per day to 100 mmSC to take advantage of cheaper gas prices and others. Mr. Speaker, we will complete the IPP capacity renegotiation to generate some savings through negotiated lower fixed capacity charges and variable O&M charges. Mr. Speaker, as agreed with the IMF by the previous administration, we will implement the following ESRP measures to achieve the structural benchmark of the IMF program. Mr. Speaker, PURC will continue to implement the quarterly tariff adjustment to reflect changes in inflation, exchange rates, and generation mix. Mr. Speaker, PURC will also undertake a major tariff adjustment which will be due in fourth quarter of 2025 to reflect capacity charges, additional liquid fuel usage, and additional CAPEX.
Government has announced plans to reintroduce road tolls as part of a broader strategy to fund road maintenance and infrastructure development. This decision was revealed in the 2025 budget statement presented by Finance Minister Dr. KCL Atto-Forson before Parliament on Tuesday. Dr. Forson explained that this move has become necessary as Ghana grapples with substantial road sector debts amounting to over 100 billion cedis in contract commitments and 21 billion cedis in arrears.
Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians and this honorable House will recall that road tolls on public roads were zero rated in the year 2022. Demand for construction and improvement of road infrastructure continues to increase even as substantial arrests and claims in the road sector remains. Right, Honorable Speaker, while the annual average collection from road tolls have not been significant compared to its potential. The existing zero-rated policy for road tolls has increased the situation and dimmed the prospects of raising enough revenue from tolls to road construction and maintenance. Accordingly, government will work with the stakeholders, including the private sector, to roll out a technology-driven solution to reintroduce road tolls this year. That's a big push.
Let's turn to agriculture, as the government has made a significant commitment to bolstering the agriculture sector, with Finance Minister Dr. KCL Ato-Forson announcing a substantial allocation of 1.5 billion cedis in the 2025 budget. This considerable investment is designed to stimulate growth and development within key subsectors, including vegetable and crop production, as well as the poultry industry.
Mr. Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for agriculture for economic transformational program, of which Feed Ghana Grains Development Project, Vegetable Development Project, and Nkoko Nketenkete are all key components of the program.
Now let's stay on this issue a while longer. Joining us via Zoom for a conversation on this is Deputy General Secretary of the General Agriculture Workers Union, that's Dr. Pascal Kaba. Pascal, thank you for joining us this evening. Now, first of all, what do you make of this 1.5 billion budgetary allocation to the agriculture sector? Will you say that it is sufficient looking at the challenges within the sector?
Good evening to your viewers. Well, we'll talk about sufficiency. Within a sector like this, we can't talk about it being sufficient. However, we appreciate the fact that the government at least is prioritizing the sector in one way or another. Because when you look at all the other sectors that got allocation, we can see that our sector the government has been monomal in terms of what they are giving us. And so, as it stands now, we have to appreciate what has come through our phones, and then we now look at the allocation of it. That it's not just about allocating, but disbursing the funds as well. So for now, yes, we appreciate the amount of money that the government is putting into the sector, especially that they are prioritizing agriculture, and they seem to be walking their talk in terms of what we are seeing so far.
Right. Now, Pascal, we do know that agriculture, the sector is quite broad, specifically with poultry within agriculture. It's observed that it's been underperforming for some time now. Judging from the amount of poultry products that are imported into the country, what would your advice or suggestion be with regards to what specific amount should be earmarked within this 1.5 billion allocation?
Yes, in terms of allocation to the poultry sector, we see that it's a value chain thing. Not just one of the things that have made the poultry sector to collapse is the non-existence of feed for the poultry sector. We have to import grain, especially yellow corn, into the country to do feed for poultry. And so once the grain sector, especially maize production, is improved upon, then it goes a long way to also improve upon the poultry sector as well. But basically, it has to do with the fact that over the years, the substantive governments have not looked at that sector as a priority area. And so they looked on for the good examples of the tobacco farms to go extinct. And so if we can't talk now in terms of what amount of money should go into the sector directly, but we do think that the value chain in terms of all the stages that will make the sector viable should be looked upon. Those who do the production of the maize should be looked at. The feed processing of the poultry should be looked at. vaccines, even for the poultry sector, should be looked at. Because one other thing that makes that sector to go extend is the fact that even after they have started the process, diseases come and then the bears are gone. And so vaccines even within that sector should also be looked at. And veterinary services. One of the things I've always been talking about for the time period is the fact that we produce veterinary doctors, we produce veterinary staff, we produce extension staff, and all these people are sitting home doing nothing. Government has not given clearance for these people to be employed. And so if we want all these sectors to work well, we must have veterinary agents for them to work within the poultry farms so that the bears don't get sick. We must have extension workers to work for the farms to also work for us.
Right.
So
very well, Pascal. So there you're highlighting the need for government to strengthen the entire value chain, really, with regards to the poultry sector and agriculture in general. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Pascal Kaba joining us on that issue. You're watching News Tonight here on GH1 TV. Do stay with us. We've got more shortly. You're welcome back to News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Now, we've been bringing you various reactions to the 2025 budget, which was read earlier today by the Finance Minister. And these are some reactions from social media, specifically from X and Facebook and various social media platforms. So this is Citizen Sawa Jr. and he says, who was collecting these betting taxes from our investors? Dear MPP, deception won't help your image. You lie too much. He has then attached a screenshot confirmed to withdraw to provide evidence of this betting tax collected. And this, of course, is in reaction to the former finance minister's comments on the betting tax, saying that it wasn't implemented. There was no betting tax that was being taken during the previous administration. And this also does follow the former finance minister's comments, follows the current finance minister saying, reading out in the budget statement, the scrapping of betting tax, which has received quite a lot of praise from a number of Ghanaians. This person, Kim Mo Sibit, GH, says, MPP Akans be smart. This guy is now the new Baumia. He will put his face out there and lie, and later it's going to turn around on him. Now, this is in reaction, this is directed at the former finance minister, Mohammed Amin Adam. Champion Lacazette says investigations need to be conducted immediately because monies were taken from the ordinary people who won, and those monies have to be refunded. This micro-minority need to get serious. And, of course, speaking here to the MPP, the minority in the current parliament, John Aloba says the e-levy was a well-disguised heist silently taken from our pockets when we weren't looking. Where is the money your government taxed us? We've also got Setre Ba, who puts on X, which country was he working from? Or he just wanted to disgrace himself to his constituents? Wait, he's a Muslim and he's telling lies in the holy month of Ramadan. So this is, clearly a very impassioned comment from Setre Ba directed at the former finance minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam. These are all in reaction to his comments that this betting tax was never taken by the previous administration, where Ghanaians are saying it was. As you saw in our reports earlier from the public's reactions, many were sure of the fact that indeed when they bet, and specifically soccer, football betting, they were taxed in fact. And so the reactions to the comments made by the former finance minister are surprising. Many are generally surprised that he made these comments. And we've also got, on our page, GHOne TV, we asked you, what are your honest thoughts on the budget presentation? And these are the four responses, and then the highest: nothing new, very promising, flawless, or who cares. By flawless, 10.4%, and 8.4% say nothing new, and 6.9% say who cares. So generally, from our poll conducted on social media on X, it appears that many Ghanaians find this budget, the